Good morning, my dearest friends in Christ, and welcome to this Sunday's reflection.
Turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look for.
The theme of our reflection today is, in Christ there is a new beginning. There is always a fresh start for every Christian. St. Francis of Assisi will say, until now you have done nothing. Begin again. On this first Sunday of Lent, on this first day of the month of March, the liturgy of the word today begins on the first book of the Bible, the book of Genesis, chapter 2, verses 7 to 9, and chapter 3, verses 1 to 7. We see what happened to our first parents, the fall of Adam and Eve, related to us in that passage. And in the Gospel of today, in the Gospel of St. Matthew, chapter 4, from verses 1 to 11, we see the temptation of Jesus, how Jesus reversed the temptation in the garden, in his own temptation in the desert, and how you and I can also follow the example of Jesus in our own temptation in the world. We see the temptation in the garden, we see the temptation in the desert, and the temptation in the world. Why our first parents fell, that happened in the past, but Christ has made everything new. In Christ we are new creation. And Jesus conquered his own temptation to give us the power as Christians to also conquer our own temptations. The temptation of Jesus today is summarized in three important parts. The first is the temptation to turn stone into bread. Obviously, Jesus was hungry after being in the desert for about 40 days without food. And the devil comes exactly at this point to test him, to tell him to turn the stones into bread so that he can eat. The devil knew that Jesus could do that. But Jesus responded, man does not live by bread alone, but by the word of God. Jesus reversed the temptation in the garden when Eve could not stand the devil and responded by succumbing to the temptation of the devil. My brothers and sisters, we also have this same temptation in our own world today. Temptation to use the gift of God to our own selfish interests, for our own selfish gain. Jesus tells us that there are things that are important in life, but certain things are more important. When we set our priority right in our scale of preference, when we place the ways of God, the things of God over our own things, then we might choose and make decisions rightly, like Jesus in the gospel and in his first temptation. The second temptation, we were told that the devil took Jesus to the pinnacle of the temple and asked him to throw himself down, that the angels of the Lord would keep him protected. In other words, the devil was telling Jesus, try the Lord, try God. But Jesus responded, that thou shalt not put the Lord thy God to the test. When we have faith, we do not need to try God. When we have faith, we do not need to tell God to prove himself. What is faith? The assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things not seen. It does not depend on you or me whether God exists. God exists, he exists. Whether you believe it, whether I believe it or not, God exists. And so trying to tell God to prove himself, to try God, is like falling into the second temptation of Jesus today. But Jesus conquered the devil. And finally, in the third temptation of Jesus, the devil invited Jesus to compromise his message and his mission, to bow down and worship him so that he will entrust the kingdoms of the world to him. But Jesus conquered the devil the third time. My dearest friends, Lenten season is a moment for us to reflect, reevaluate our faithfulness to our Christian life, to our Christian values. It is an opportunity for us to begin again, because Christ has put all things right, and he has given us the power to conquer this. Adam and Eve had their past, but the present is Christ's power within us. And so, my brothers and sisters, it is a time for you and me to begin once again. We have had our past. We have made several wrong decisions. We have fallen several times. For all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. But the gospel of today is a message of hope for you and me. The Lenten season is an opportunity for us to begin again. Let us ask the Lord, as we begin this holy season of grace, to grant us the right disposition, the graces we need, so that we may respond to the direction that he gives us, to follow his path, to continue to stand for what is holy, for what is good, for what is true, so that at the end of this Lenten season, we will have a spirit-filled, fruitful, and fulfilled Easter celebration. May the Lord bless his word in our hearts. God bless you.